The first alien sighting happens in the Arabian desert of Yemen, where a strong wave of energy is sent out. At the same time, in Idabel, Oklahoma, Sheriff Bell works his last day before retirement. With Deputy Grady by his side, they investigate the disappearance of Cal and Chet Griffin after finding their stolen truck in the middle of a cornfield. In Long Island, New York, Anisha Malik gets her kids, Luke and Sarah, ready for school. All the children in the school have nosebleeds, except for Luke. After a heartbreaking discovery and an explosion that shakes the neighborhood, the Malik family faces difficult decisions. In Tokyo, Japan, Hinata writes a goodbye letter to Mitsuki, as she is one of 3 astronauts chosen by JAXA to go to the International Space Station for a year. Mitsuki watches from the station as Hinata leaves Earth in a space shuttle, but the mission doesn't go as planned. In Long Island, New York, after the explosion destroys the neighborhood and cuts the power, Anisha and Ahmed take shelter in the basement with their kids, Luke and Sarah. After a second explosion and Luke showing strange symptoms, the Maliks decide to leave the city. In London, England, a class of children is on a field trip. One of the kids, Casper, has epilepsy and is bullied by a group led by Monty. While on the bus, their phones and other technology start to malfunction, and Casper has a seizure. Then, metal shrapnel begins falling from the sky, causing the bus to crash into a large ditch off the road. In Tokyo, Japan, Mitsuki has to move on with her life, while Hinata is away on her space mission. However, when Mitsuki learns that they've lost contact with the shuttle, she rushes to work and finds out that the shuttle has been damaged and the astronauts, including Hinata, are likely dead. Mitsuki mourns privately, but it's hard when her mother tries to convince her that this is a gift. Mitsuki tries to cope by drinking and partying, but forgetting about Hinata proves difficult. U.S. Navy SEAL Trevante Cole is stationed in Kandahar Province, Afghanistan, where his unit is sent to find a missing squad after losing contact. They arrive at a village that was attacked and follow the trail to a school, where children point them in the right direction. However, Trevante and his team encounter strange and otherworldly resistance. Trevante wakes up buried under dirt. He manages to crawl out of the sand, but his unit is missing, and he has a serious shoulder injury, bleeding heavily. With no way to communicate, he walks aimlessly through the desert. Eventually, he collapses from exhaustion and dehydration. As the sun beats down on him, he starts to hallucinate and briefly sees his wife in the distance. Just before he passes out, an Afghan who doesn't speak English rescues him. In Long Island, New York, as Anisha drives, the Maliks leave the city and watch as New York City goes dark. After a confrontation at a gas station, Anisha, Manny, Luke, and Sarah steal a car from another family and spend the night in a motel. Meanwhile, Anisha and Manny grow even more distant from each other. In London, England, the kids from the bus crash mostly recover, with only a few bumps and bruises. However, Mr. Edwards has serious injuries and is unable to move. Jamila uses the medical skills she learned from her nurse mother to make a tourniquet for his arm. Casper tries to help, but Monty and Jerome blame him for the crash, saying Mr. Edwards was distracted by Casper's seizure. Later that evening, as the group sets up camp around the bus, Casper starts a fire. Monty tricks him into sharing personal details about his life, which Monty uses to win Casper's vote and become the leader of the group. In Tokyo, Japan, Mitsuki continues to struggle with Hinata's death, but returns to work as if everything is normal. However, things have changed, and an independent government commission is investigating how the shuttle ruptured. Mitsuki is worried they will make things worse, so she steals Hashimoto's badge and breaks into the comms room with Kaido. They watch the shuttle's final moments and discover that something hit it. When Mitsuki enhances the audio, she hears the word Wajo. In London, England, Casper and Jamila wake up to find that Mr. Edwards has died from his injuries, leaving the children without any adult guidance. After Casper takes back his vote, Monty reveals a secret to the group in retaliation. Casper then decides to climb a nearby rock formation to find help, and there they discover the scattered remains of a satellite that fell from the sky, which looks like one of Casper's drawings. When Monty tries to stop them from leaving, they all rally together and follow Casper's lead. In upstate New York, as Anisha and Manny continue to drift apart, Luke and Sarah notice and start to worry that their parents' relationship might end in a divorce. Due to a federal emergency, the Malicks must leave the motel. During this time, Anisha makes another shocking discovery about Manny. All the tension causes Luke to run away and find an older couple, Patrick and Kel Mitchell, who live in a house deep in the woods and offer the family shelter. In Afghanistan, Cucci leads Travante to a place called Dishu in search of goats. While there, Travante tracks a signal from Chavez to a hospital. However, Travante is in no condition to travel, so he must carry Chavez out when the hospital is attacked. In Tokyo, Japan, Mitsuki is fired from JASO by Hashimoto after breaking into the comms room, but she's more determined than ever to prove that the shuttle was attacked, even though Kaido and Hashimoto believe otherwise. She goes to see Hinata's father, Mr. Murai, and learns that he and Hinata had become estranged because he didn't approve of her living a secretive life. Mitsuki then plays him the audio from the shuttle's final moments, where Hinata speaks. In Kandahar province, Afghanistan, Travante returns to camp with Chavez's body in the back of his truck, only to find the base abandoned. There's an emergency evacuation order because the military had encountered an unknown hostile force. Travante buries Chavez near the base and remembers the last words Chavez said to him, "Go home." Travante then calls his wife and tells her he's coming home. In New York, the Malicks are staying with the Mitchells, but with a curfew, limited food, and the need for a generator, someone must go into town for supplies. Anisha volunteers, while Manny stays home with Luke and Sarah. While searching a store that has been cleaned out, Anisha is picked up by the military. She tells them she's a doctor, despite only attending medical school, and is recruited to help. She joins other doctors in the next town, including Dr. David Barton, an orthopedic surgeon, and helps with a surgery where they discover a foreign life form inside an injured civilian. In London, England, the kids find an abandoned food truck on the road. The driver is gone, but Casper notices metallic spikes sticking through the passenger seat. Alfie finds a radio and catches a brief emergency broadcast reporting global tragedies. The group then decides to split up. Casper leads half of them home, while the others stay inside the food truck. In Tokyo, Japan, Mitsuki, despite being fired from JASA, demands a meeting with Hashimoto. She listens to the enhanced audio from the shuttle moments before it ruptured and hears the word Wajo. This means the shuttle didn't depressurize, suggesting someone might still be alive. Hashimoto then admits she also heard something and plays another recording from the Kibo module, taken about 6 hours ago, leading them to believe the shuttle collided with extraterrestrial life. After learning that JASA is teaming up with America, Mitsuki, with Hashimoto's blessing, steals equipment to investigate on her own. The president addresses the nation in a televised speech broadcast in over 100 languages across the world, announcing that Earth is being visited by extraterrestrial life, aliens. The president declares martial law until further notice. After the president's address, Anisha jumps out of an ambulance heading to the next town and runs for miles back to the Mitchell's house. On her way, she passes a military outpost that has been destroyed but manages to recover a handgun from one of the corpses. Anisha finally reaches the house, only to find it under attack by aliens. Thankfully, everyone is safe and hidden in the attic, though the Mitchell's dog isn't as lucky. When an alien attacks, they quickly plan their escape, but Patrick refuses to leave, worried that the noise will reveal their location. This leads to a fight, and during the chaos, Sarah falls through the floor. Anisha jumps down to save her and hides behind a door, but the alien follows the sound of Sarah's crying and starts climbing the stairs. Anisha and Sarah manage to escape the room unnoticed when Kel's leg gets stuck in the floor, drawing the alien's attention. This gives them the chance to sneak downstairs into a closet. Meanwhile, Ahmed and Luke make their way downstairs toward the front door, which is barricaded. As Manny tries to unblock it, Luke joins Anisha and Sarah in the closet. Anisha watches as Manny is attacked, and she takes the chance to sneak down into the basement and escape through a small window. Outside, the Maliks meet up with Patrick, who throws Anisha the keys to the truck but can't escape himself. After a close encounter with the alien, the Maliks manage to escape. In New York, while trying to get help for Ahmed, Anisha asks about the strange object she found in Luke's bag, which she used to kill the alien. Before he can explain where it came from, Anisha has to pull over and perform an emergency procedure to save Ahmed's life. After stabilizing Manny, the Maliks seek shelter for the night at a retro diner. The next day, they head to an outpost at Northview College, where Anisha runs into Dr. David Barton, who takes care of Ahmed. In Afghanistan, Travante investigates an explosion that has killed at least one person and finds an Afghan family nearby. The husband speaks English and tells Travante that Camp Travis was destroyed, and they're trying to get to Kabul where a plane is waiting. Instead of making the 200-mile journey on foot, Travante offers the family a ride. At Kabul airport, soldiers refuse to let anyone board the plane, so Travante offers his rifle as payment in exchange for space on the flight for him and the family. In England, Casper, Jamila, Monty, Alfie, and Darwin are searching for safety when a woman in a truck speeds toward them. Casper stands in the road, forcing her to stop. She gives them a ride back to London, where they learn the world has been invaded by aliens. Once in London, they split up to go home, and Monty apologizes to Casper for how he treated him. On their way home, Casper confesses to Jamila that he's been seeing things and hearing a voice in his head just before a near encounter with an alien. In Tokyo, Japan, Mitsuki Kaito and Ikuro infiltrate the satellite station as JASO officials to try and make contact with the aliens using the audio from the shuttle's final moments. They've turned the audio into a spectral fingerprint, hoping to trace whatever is broadcasting it. As they search for the transmission, Mitsuki realizes they aren't looking for a broadcast, but rather a network. Something like a hive mind. Just when they think the pattern might be gone, Mitsuki spots an anomaly. It turns out to be the shuttle's distress beacon, but before they can pinpoint its location, the police arrive and take them away. Travante and the Afghan family arrive in London by plane, but all air traffic is grounded, preventing Travante from returning home to his wife. At Northview College in New York, Anisha reconnects with Dr. David Barton. Meanwhile, Luke makes a new friend named Jack, who takes him to a place where the bodies are being kept. In Tokyo, Mitsuki is handcuffed to a desk by the US military. She bargains for her freedom and offers to lead the comms team, as she is the only one capable of accessing the Hoshi 12's communication system. Casper returns home with Jamila, only to find that his mother has been killed by the aliens. David shows Anisha the remaining medical supplies, which are mostly useless since the military has taken everything valuable. He praises her for her ability to improvise, and in the heat of the moment, passionately kisses her. Anisha confesses that she is not actually a doctor. She only has some basic medical training. Mitsuki's first act as leader of the comms team is to send a command to open the shuttle's comms channel in an effort to communicate with the aliens. Casper confides in Jamila about his mother's death and admits that he could have stopped the invasion. He reveals that for days before the attack, he had been seeing and drawing pictures of the aliens. Anisha searches for Luke and finds him, along with Ahmed and Sarah, in the lab where the bodies are kept. They're standing over a corpse with the alien object. Realizing that the aliens don't seem to have a human-like language, Mitsuki sends thousands of files, videos, and images of Hinata to the aliens in hopes they can understand them visually. Soon after, they receive a response. Wajo is repeated across all frequencies. In Tokyo, Japan, a flashback shows the first time Mitsuki invited Hinata over to her apartment. They discussed a David Bowie poster above Mitsuki's bed and talked about the similarities between Mitsuki and the iconic English musician. In the present day, Hinata wakes up after being knocked unconscious by the shuttle rupture. She makes her way back to the Hoshi 12, where she manages to contact Mitsuki. In London, England, Casper and Jamila convince Travante to take them to the hospital after showing him one of Casper's drawings, which eerily depicts Travante's unit. Once there, they persuade a neurologist to induce a seizure in hopes of finding a way to stop the aliens. The aliens, however, begin attacking the hospital in search of Casper, who shares a psychological connection with them. At Northview College in New York, after tests confirm that the object Anisha found in Luke's bag can be used as a weapon against the aliens, the Malik family is escorted by the US military to the Pentagon. The discovery of the weapon sparks fear within the community. During their journey, the convoy is attacked, and the Maliks are forced to flee into the woods for safety. Ahmed sacrifices himself to create a diversion, allowing his family to escape. Back in Tokyo, Mitsuki makes contact with what she believes to be Hinata. However, the US military plans to use this opportunity to launch a nuclear strike on the aliens. They also discover that the voice Mitsuki hears is synthesized, and Ikuro confirms that Hinata is likely dead. Mitsuki refuses to accept this and continues her search, determined to prove that Hinata is still alive. The world celebrates what seems to be the end of the alien invasion, following a successful nuclear attack by the US military. In London, England, Dr. Chapman runs multiple tests on Casper, who remains unresponsive with no brain activity. Believing Casper may never wake up, Travante decides to leave Jamila behind and return home to his wife, hoping to repair their strained marriage. Meanwhile, in the woods, Anisha, Luke, and Sarah mourn Ahmed's death. Luke holds his mother responsible for leaving his father behind. The family eventually reaches a fire station where they find temporary refuge. There, they hear over the radio that the invasion is over, but Anisha remains unsure whether it's truly safe to go home. In Tokyo, Japan, Mitsuki mourns Hinata's death at the apartment she once shared with her. Amid the sadness, she finds family photos and a compass that Hinata's father had given her when she was a child. Later, Mitsuki meets a weed-smoking monk who offers her shelter at his temple. The monk shares his belief that the invasion was a test, with the aliens taking what humanity had taken for granted. From the temple, Mitsuki hacks into the satellite station in another attempt to make contact. In the Amazon rainforest, Brazil, a research team discovers a cave and makes contact with an unknown alien life form.